Hi, I'm Mark Murphy. I'm the writer-director of The Revenger, an unromantic comedy, and I'm here talking to you on criticalhit.net.
It's a rather cynical take, obviously, on the British rom-com. How did you walk that narrow line between becoming something that could be quite dark, and something that would be a lot fluffier?
It's 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 a tricky one because you know what? It's started off as an unromantic comedy, like, but basically it is romantic.
Hmm.
I mean, the whole crux of it is it's supposed to be the antithesis of a romantic comedy. But dare I say it, I think it's actually a really good romantic comedy. As you say, it's got loads of heart and everything. And so originally it was intended to be like a romantic comedy for lads, and I still think it applies to that. But it's a bit of it's a bit of a Gemini film. It has these two kind of characteristics, these two kind of personalities. One is this distinctly unromantic feel, but on the other hand, it's also incredibly romantic. It's a weird dichotomy. Um, and that sort of came about by organic, happy coincidence. I mean,
Okay.
we had this story, and originally it was just a very unromantic comedy. I'm not going to say too much about the end because obviously, when you watched it, did it end the way you expected it to?
No, that's one of the reasons why I liked it so much, actually. That's one of the reasons it was different to the Four Weddings and a Funeral formula.
Yeah, and originally we did have it ending exactly how you'd expect it to end.
Okay.
And it's tricky for me, and I've done this in the past with you before, where I've destroyed the ending.
It's
And
okay,
at
I'll
the
edit that
time,
out anyway. I'll edit that. I'll have a spoiler version and I'll have a non-spoiler version, but yeah, I won't. I'm not going to give spoilers.
yeah. Unfortunately, I've got no sort of girlfriends or ex-girlfriends sitting near me who can't be protected by your, redacted version. Um, but yeah, it's originally we had it written whereby, yeah, it happened exactly as you'd expect it to. And my kind of way of working is this. I do 25 drafts of the script. Until we start filming, there's always opportunities to find something new, to create something better. And especially as the week before filming, I'll be rehearsing with the actors. When you get, and especially in this, I mean, the actors in this, let's be totally frank, they're awesome. They're really strong, awesome people right there.
Very, very
That are
cool people, yeah.
superb. And that's not, I'm not trying to blow smoke up anyone's arse here, because, I have worked with some good actors in the past. I've worked with some awful actors in the past. But you know what? This is such a stellar team,
Mm.
and such a pivotal reason why the film, in my opinion, works as well as it does. So when you start getting actors getting under the skin of the characters, you start finding more jokes. You start finding nuances that you'd never have thought of. I'm sort of suggesting that that's where this ending came back. It didn't. It actually came before. But going back to my point, I'm always working on. I don't get to a point and say, right, that's it. It's literally until we finish editing, then that's the story, locked off. There's always a way of doing it. In particular, one of the processes is I don't want to give an ending that is expected.
I was canning myself laughing. That one particular scene with the bloody trousers. Oh my goodness! And
I'm really glad you're saying that because that's the scene that worried me the most. I mean, okay, so in the end credits, it's not a Marvel bonus. It was originally going to be like a Marvel bonus type thing, where end credits roll and you see that scene of Tim and Ed, not Tim and Ed, Tim and Mark, or Tim and Mark. So I get really screwed up with actors' names and characters' names.
I'm
I
sure
mix
it's mishmash right now.
up. But there's that scene in the end credits, which originally took place after Mark finds out, and he gets the phone and he realizes that it's all a scam. And I thought this is a hilarious scene. There's Tony Way and Rob
I loved
Kaczynski,
it. I have to say, I really enjoyed it.
and I just loved it. And Rob's performance, it was almost Jim Carrey-ish,
Mm.
like it was just. And then when we did a test screening, people hated it.
What?
They,
Wow.
they didn't think it was unfunny. They just thought it was misplaced. They were like, hang on, we've gone from this kind of a film to this kind of a film. It's a completely different brand of performance, of comedy. It stood out like a sore thumb. So I'm like, okay. And I did the thing that I don't usually do, but I've got a really good relationship with Rob, and I think we trust each other quite a lot. And I showed it to him. He's over in LA, and he's obviously got some wonderful connections over there. He's, Pacific Rim and Warcraft and all the rest. He knows a lot of people, and people love him over there. They really do. And so I knew he was going to be able to show a few people and get some professional feedback from, people of, quite a respectable, amount of experience. And, he was sitting there, and the feedback he got, and these are from like big time editors as well, was you got to lose that scene.
Yeah.
And he was against it as well. He's like, what? And in the end, he capitulated and was like, okay, fair enough, you made a fairly good point. That scene's got to go. And he told me that, and I'm like, yeah, we just had a test screening, same response. So I took it out. Now, that scene flows so much better because originally that scene was just, you get this revelation, something's broken up where he basically says to the audience, this is what I'm going to do, because the scene was a lot longer. He goes, this is what I'm going to do, and then he starts doing it, and it's just too much of a flag. It's too much of a, hey, everyone.
Now we're doing this.
Yeah, and it was like, instead of doing that, we just went straight into it, and it just flowed so much better. But I thought, I love that scene so much. I don't want to lose it completely, so I thought I'd put it in the end credits as like a bonus. Is to work with LA. I mean, it is the mecca of our industry. It is the heart of the system. They make films that get exploited around the world, that people get to see. And yeah, there's the occasional British film that does that, but there aren't that many. I mean, how many films a year, British, like 100% British made? Because a lot of them, you may say Bond, but that's not a British film, that's Sony now. That's American money. You may say any working title film, but again, that's Universal. I think it's always American money in there. But a fully fledged British film, something that might be a film for, that really gets pushed around the world, maybe one or two a year. Like a Trainspotting or something. There aren't that many. There's such a lot of competition here, so aggressive, that even if and I'm not saying you need big $200 million budgets to make a good film, you really don't, and sometimes that's, counterproductive, but, if you want to make a film that's really going to get a lot of recognition and an opportunity to be pushed around the world, you do need to spend more than 20 million, you do need to spend more than 30 million, and that's still, by American standards, a low-budget film, My goal, yeah, of course I want to work in America. I mean, they understand film better than anyone else does. I mean, to be honest, I'm not, very au fait with Indian or Chinese cinema enough to probably make that, that broad blanket sort of statement. But in my opinion, America is where it is. And I was over in LA I can say last year now, over in September a few months ago, and I did meet up with various people over there, and I am getting those wheels turning, and of course, it doesn't come down to whether I'm a nice guy or what, how compelling my argument may be for them taking me on. It's about how well this film is going to do. And that's this sort of critical position we're in at the moment. I think the audience will respond to it, but I think the key thing is they need to be able to find it and they need to know about it, and that's about getting good distribution and getting it out. Based on us doing that, based on us getting a film that does well, because I think critics are going to warm to it. I don't think we're going to suddenly find a wave of animosity and vile comments saying that Mark Murphy's done an even worse film this time. I'm
Well, I
hoping
don't think that'll be the case. It's not going to be a DC'd movie.
hoping. But yeah, I'm hoping it's going to do well, and if it does, then yeah, the game plan is to start working more in collaboration with LA, and actually. Through this film, I mean, I loved working with all the cast there, but I really, really enjoyed working with Rob, and we get on tremendously. And our plan now is we're opening a film company together.
Oh wow!
And we're doing stuff together, and I'm hoping that's going to sort of bridge that gulf between London and LA, where we can start doing more sort of international productions, or at least if we're shooting in the UK, have American distribution already. Involved, have his agency and his management getting behind the project. So that's what we're doing now. Matt, that's your question, wasn't it? You had a question about sequels. Well, yeah, I mean, originally, before we started filming, I always had a trilogy in mind.
Oh, wow, really?
First film is about, Mark and Connie. The second film would be about Tim and how he spends his money. And Sam Barks came up with a tremendous idea. I probably shouldn't credit her this because she may
come back later.
But it was, why didn't you start off with Ducky's funeral? I think that one of the standout stars of the film is Ducky, and I'm hoping by having a dog in it, which my mum pointed out. Just over Christmas, I went down to see my parents in Cornwall, and the local. I'm not going to say anything derogatory because it's still a market. The local Cornish, a local Cornish person. Obviously, my parents lived down there for a while, and one of them, everyone knows each other. They all sleep with each other, and sort of said, have you got any new films coming out? And I said, yeah, I've got one coming out in a few months. And she goes, has it got anyone famous in it? And my mum goes, it's got a dog, It's on the dog. The people that cost a lot of money. She just filled it with dogs. Apparently that's all anyone really has any interest in. But people
do like a dog, that's true.
And I think Ducky's a great character in it, or ably performed by Ernie, his name was.
That's a nice thing. I mean, I read a couple of articles too about the chemistry, and I spoke to you a year ago, even more so. No, about a year ago. And you said that the cast got on very, very well together, and you could see that, I think, actually on the screen. It was Samantha. I think Samantha made a comment about everyone being very friendly and sort of open on stage. That must lend, of course, itself to the occasional spontaneity that looks real and it doesn't appear shoehorned in there.
Yeah. I think there was a genuine chemistry with the cast. I mean, I don't think they're sort of running off at night all together and partying without me, but at least I hope not. But they all got on. It was a fairly relaxed. Well, it wasn't a relaxed set. There never is, but it was a good harmony, and I think that sort of comes through in a sense. Or they're just all great actors who hated each other.
I think a bit of both. We'll go with a bit of both over there. I mean, Tony, he was hysterical too. I mean, I think he has some of the best shots as well. I mean, I'm not going to say anything because I don't want to ruin it, but that scene at the end with the light shining from behind him, I was crying with laughter. I can only imagine how much everyone else on set was crying too, but it's definitely worth watching.
Again, that post-credit sequence when he's having the dance, that was originally in the bulk of the film. Then it's like, okay, now this is just a little too left.
Yes.
I can't lose it, but what a great, put it in there at the ending on the credits. Then it sort of fits there, and it's just an opportunity to put one more smile back on the faces of the audience. But yeah, no, Tony's terrific. I mean, Tony's, he writes comedy as well. He's got a big comedy background. He really does, and I've liked him in so many of the things he's done. But I think this is his crowning moment, and I don't want to take anything away from anything else he's done, but he is just unbelievable in it.
It's the start of the new year, What was your movie of 2017?
Yeah, I often think that, and part of the problem is I keep forgetting what I've seen. I actually genuinely liked Thor 3, Thor Ragnarok. I hated the first two. I'm putting myself out there to Kevin Feige, and say, look, let me do a better job than all these terrible films keep making. Actually, I do like the Marvel films. I just didn't like the first two Thors.
He was.
Yeah,
I
but
loved it. It was fantastic. I enjoyed it too.
he's so damn good. I mean, I love Hunt for the Wilder People. I love What We Do in the Shadows, and I thought, the humor in Ragnarok was great, and there was, the action and the story, and I loved his kind of 80s styling, that kind of arcade 80s feel about it. I thought that was terrific, and that's definitely not my film of the year. But I enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I would. Force Awakens. No, that was the year before. Last Jedi. So, nah, again, Kathleen Kennedy. I know you're giving it back to J.J. Abrams, and you know what? I think he did a superb job with the Star Trek reboots, but Force Awakens, sorry. So I'm up for that.
So not Rian Johnson, and not convinced with this.
I mean, I thought it was better than Force Awakens, but I didn't feel it. It's like Star Wars was supposed to be about hope, and that's what made Rogue One such a great film, especially the ending.
If you can go, okay, let's say in 10, 15 years' time, okay, let's say you're on the level of, Peter Jackson out there or Steven Spielberg, would you ever go back and revisit and redo one of your movies if you thought you could do it better? Or would you leave it alone?
I mean, look, life is short. I mean, I had dreams of being a film director when I was a kid, and my initial dream was by 26 I'd have won my first Oscar. But that being said, when I went to film school, I thought I'd probably be the camera operator on the first Star Wars, Phantom Menace. Then I'd be DP on the second. I'd probably direct the third. That was a genuine thought I had. I genuinely thought that's probable. And then, reality slapped me in the face, and I realized, shit, no, it doesn't work that way. I have so many films I'd love to make, and there's definitely not enough time to get in, as many made as you'd like to. Certainly wouldn't waste my time. If I didn't do them well enough the first time, then I need to leave them there.
One sentence, why should people go watch this movie?
Because it is a really endearing, character-led, funny story that you're not going to have a clear idea of what's going to happen 5 minutes later, so you're going to be utterly engaged. You're going to come out with a smile on your face, and films like this need to find their way back into the cinema. Why should you see it? Because you'll enjoy it. Basically, I challenge anyone to go and see this film and not enjoy it. I think people really will. Hi, I'm Mark Murphy. I'm the writer-director of The Revenger, an unromantic comedy, and I'm here talking to you on criticalhit.net.